welcome to On Trial, starring Mark Radulich, also starring Sean Comer. Hope you're ready, Hollywood, because you're on trial.
All right, you are listening to On Trial, a Radulich Broadcasting premier podcast. And tonight, normally, we would have a prosecutor and a defender. And in a sense, we do. Technically, I'm prosecuting. Technically, Ronnie Adams. Say hi, Ronnie Adams.
Hi, Ronnie. Hi.
Is defending. And on the docket tonight is John Carpenter's 1978 slasher classic,
That's
Halloween.
Right. Halloween.
But this particular case is not going to trial.
No,
this is a plea bargain.
Yes.
So we're gonna have fun tonight. Ronnie and I. Are we? Like,
oh,
are
absolutely.
This is gonna be a disaster.
No,
okay.
We always have fun, my friend.
No, like normally on trial is, we take a hard line. One of us defends it, one of us one of us hates it and prosecutes it, as it were. And today, like, Ronnie and I are just going to discuss it. We're going to review the movie, the good, the bad, and the ugly, but this is not the typical Lincoln Douglas style debate that we would normally do for On Trial. So welcome to yet again one of the plea bargain editions of On Trial. Now, Ronnie, you and I talked like a couple of months ago. You were like, hey, I'm trying to get back into the podcasting thing. I kind of want to just hitch myself to your wagon. I don't want to really do my own thing because I've got my own like gaming stuff with Twitch and everything. But I'd like to be on more shows. And then you were like, and I want to talk about all the Halloween all the time. And I'm like, all right, slow down. So
pump your brakes.
So let's just start there as a bit of table setting. So like what was the first Halloween movie you saw? How did you end up seeing it?
Halloween.
Like, what did it do to your life? Yeah.
So I've been on and on. Well, not since early on. I mean, like, in my, I'm about to, why do I have a paper bag in my hands? Okay. Soft reboot. Let's go again. Since I was younger, not like really young, but like teens, earlier than that, I've been a horror fan, but I don't like I liked supernatural, like I liked Freddy Krueger, crap like that, but not as much as I like the actual stuff like slasher films.
Right.
And when I researched, I guess you could say, slasher films, I always came back to Michael Myers. And I was like, I remember this, but I wasn't allowed to watch it because of boobies. And but I watched it. I'm sure it was like on heavily edited on TV commercials. And I was like, man, this is it. This is it. Mm-hmm. Because it's always been my philosophy that things that can actually happen are much scarier than the supernatural things that aren't going to happen. So Michael Myers in that first movie absolutely could happen. Absolutely.
Sure.
Could. And that's terrifying.
It could be a big wrestler type dude just running around stabbing, unsuspecting gals trying to get laid.
That's it. Yeah.
That's absolutely a thing that could happen.
Well, absolutely. So, I mean, it probably has happened.
So, as I think, and I don't want to talk too much about this because people have, in this and that podcast have heard my sort of now notorious dislike of the horror genre. I didn't watch a lot of the stuff growing up. What's funny about that is I say that, and we've often made fun of me for it across various podcasts. And looking at you, Robert Winfrey. But I actually did watch the Nightmare on Elm Street movies growing up. Like that's one of the few franchises I did see. Yeah, I watched the Nightmare on Elm Street. I remember seeing at least one or two of the Friday the 13th growing up. I just didn't watch a lot of it, and I don't particularly like the genre. I never have. I've sort of found myself liking it as we do these podcasts because with all of you psycho nuts, it's hard to get away from it. Like you just sort of push me into it.
Very true.
So, like, hey, can we talk about this? No, we're gonna talk about slasher movies. Fuck, whatever. I guess if I have to do a podcast, that's what I'm gonna do it on. So,
correct me if I'm wrong, but you're a fan of the
Yeah.
Scream franchise.
yeah, that's another one that I watched. Like, it was weird. Like, I probably came to the horror genre like in my teen to like college years.
Yeah,
So I don't remember when the first Scream came out, but I absolutely saw that one in theaters.
96.
And I think, okay, so that puts me in college.
Mhm.
So I definitely saw that one in theaters. I didn't see any of the Nightmare on Elm Street ones in theaters. I saw all those at home, and I think I know I saw like Freddy versus Jason in the theater. I like made it a point to go see that one. That one I went by myself.
It's not horror. It's comedy. It's action. It's everything but the horror genre in that. I mean, there's scary moments, but that's not horror to me.
So long story short, like I never saw, and I talked about this on the Halloween Resurrection podcast. I never saw any of the Halloween movies until the H2O Resurrection movies came about. And I was actually I said on that show that I think the first one I saw was Resurrection because I could have sworn I was laughing my ass off at Busta Rhymes, but I thought about it again, and I texted my friend Chuck, who I know I saw the movie. Like I remember going to the movies with my buddy Chuck. And I remember having never seen another Halloween movie before and being a little anxious about it because of like, am I going to understand what's happening? It's like, it's about a dude stabbing girls. You'll be fine. Like, all right, fine. I got it. Yeah. It's just gonna be like walking into the middle of Lord of the Rings or something. Like will I be able to follow the plot? You'll be fine.
You're fine. Yeah. There's not much going on there, you know.
And the thing I would learn later about the H2O Resurrection duo is that they utterly disregard everything that happens after Halloween too.
Everything.
So like the whole 4, 5, 6, I guess it's called like the of Michael Myers trilogy.
Mm-hmm. Well, 3 is not even
separate timeline. Yeah. Well, yeah, and 3 is a whole other thing entirely.
Yeah, 3 is not even considered like canon because there's absolutely no Michael Myers in it.
Right.
They wanted to go a different direction with that, and they were like, "Oh, let's do this," and it sucked, and nobody liked it, and they're like, "Where's Michael Myers?" So they brought Michael Myers back for the third one, fourth one.
So, I didn't see the first Halloween movie, which we'll start talking about in a moment, until 2018, and I saw it as a double feature with the premiere of Halloween 2018.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. That's cool. I wish they would have done that around here. I would have loved that.
So let's kind of go through these, and then we'll double back. The Halloween 2. What do you think about that one?
I don't hate it. It's good. It's fun. It's good to watch during the spooky season, as everybody calls it. I hate when people call it that. It's not considered. In my world, I don't consider it canon.
Really?
Yeah, I really don't. Because Halloween 2018 is a direct
sequel to 78.
Sequel to the 78. So
yeah,
I love 2018. I think it's great, no matter what people say. I think it's awesome. Now, Halloween 2 is good. I lump it in, unfortunately, with 4, 5, and 6.
Really? Okay.
I hate to lump it in with 4, 5, and 6. I hate to do that, but that's just kind of where it goes. Because I mean, there are so many things that happen in 2. Like she's running through the entire. This is the one set in the hospital, you know. Yeah. And he stabs. Michael Myers stabs a nurse in the back with a scalpel and picks her up on this flimsy piece of metal, like 6 feet in the air. And there's so much blood on the floor that it had to come from 5 or 6 human beings, not just from her. Right. And at the end, Laurie Strode is like screaming, struggling, crawling, crying, the whole nine. And then all of a sudden she grabs a revolver, and all of a sudden she's Annie freaking Oakley and puts one in each eye. I'm like, okay. The first one ended so much cooler, and there's not that supernatural aspect with Michael Myers after 1 going into 2018.
Okay.
And that's what I like about it. It keeps it real.
So real quick, I just kind of run through these. So like 50 words or less. Your thoughts on number 3?
Terrible.
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
Sean and I
hated it.
debated that one. That was the very first one we actually covered for On Trial, or of any variety of podcasts that I do.
Yeah.
I remember having issues with it, but I didn't think it was the worst thing ever.
It's the
we
worst
picked it apart, like we
Halloween
pick
movie.
everything apart.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why I say that. That's terrible.
Mhm.
Had it been anything else, they labeled it anything else. They just left
Okay.
Halloween 3 off of it and named it Season of the Witch.
Right.
It'd been like, oh, this is a campy, fun Halloween movie. Horror movie.
I actually feel like that's the conclusion Sean and I reached, was that trying to shoehorn this into the Halloween Michael Myers mythology as
terrible
kind of its
idea.
own. Yeah. We have people chatting with us, and Gavin Napier, formerly of the Casual Heroes, and going to be on the next, was previously on our Ted Lasso season 1 podcast, and will be on season 2.
What's up, Gavin?
Says season of the Witch is great. It's just a marketing fail, and like I said, that is exactly what the conclusion was that we came to, was basically, had they just called it Season of the Witch and left it
it'd been
off of it
perfect
entirely,
Yeah.
it would have been fine. It was a perfectly
fine.
fine. It has its issues, but it would have been a perfectly fine movie. Kind of let's just group these together.
If you ask me, I'm just
Mhm.
taking it as a Halloween movie. How do you think it ranks? I think it's honestly, I'll take it back. I don't think it's the worst one, because Resurrection takes that title, but it's up there.
Have you had a chance to hear me and Sean talk about that yet? And see my glorious impression of Busta Rhymes?
That's so great.
Oh, you did hear it. Thank you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But it's one of those things where, like, if it's a Halloween movie, it's a failure. If it is just a campy, crazy, spooky movie, then it's fine.
Right. All right. So 4, 5, and 6. The of Michael Myers trilogy. From what I understand, it's kind of like a tie, depending on who you ask, between hating the of Michael Myers trilogy and hating the Rob Zombie Halloweens. So let's just talk about the of Michael Myers ones. What do you think of that trilogy?
Okay. I mean, oh man, you're gonna make me go there. What I can remember of them, we'll put it that way, because I don't watch them. They're not good. They're not good. I mean, like, for everybody wanted Michael Myers back, so that's why they did 4.
Sure.
So Halloween 4, I mean, it's okay. It's good. It's like, I think it's like set 2 years after the original one. It's supposed to be 1980, and I think it came out in 1988. And it goes after his niece, and Dr. Loomis has to stop him.
All right.
At what point do you look at Donald Pleasence and go, "You need to stop, sir"? But it's okay. He's been in a coma. Like, I think he was in a coma, and maybe no, it says 2 years after. What the heck? I thought it was. Well, anyway, but he tries to kill his niece. It's okay. It's good. I mean, it's not good, but it's okay. It's there, And then you get into Halloween 5 with the creepy little kid in the clown outfit on the top. That's supposed to be Michael Myers.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Pleasence comes back, but 1 year after the events of Halloween 4, the return of Michael Myers, the Shape returns to Haddonfield once again in an attempt. I'm reading it now to kill his now mute niece.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Right. And then you've got Curse of Michael Myers, which is, I think, possibly the worst out of the 3. In my opinion, in my opinion, I think that's the worst out of the 3. And that just comes in 6 years after Michael Myers last terrorized Haddonfield. He returns to the pursuit of his niece, Jamie Lloyd, who has escaped with her newborn child, for which Michael and a mysterious cult have sinister plans. So now you got a cult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd heard about that.
Yeah. So it's, like I said, it's been a long time since I've seen them. And I think, if it's okay to say this, we have plans on later on down the road taking a look at the ofs.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to do that because I'll watch them again. But when it comes to Michael Myers, I'm kind of a purist. So I stick with 1 and 2, but I really stick with 1. 1 is the one I watch. The first one, the original, is the one I watch every year at Halloween. Halloween night, I have that playing, and then following up that, I have Night of the Living Dead, the 68 version. And then that's my night, man. I pass out candy. I give that. I watch those, and I just have a fun time. If it's not too late, when the candy dies down, the trick-or-treaters got down, I'll go to a haunt that's right down the road from me.
So just real quick, and then we'll get right into the movie. So Jason Teasley jumped on this grenade because when I asked Ronnie Adams, "Hey, do you want to review the Rob Zombie Halloweens?" He was like, "I'd rather have my nutsack stapled to my leg." I went, "Okay." Yep. Apparently, not all horror movies are the same. So
terrible.
More on that in 2022. All right. The plot of this thing: on Halloween night, 1963, in the fictional town of Haddonfield, Illinois, 6-year-old Michael Myers inexplicably stabs his teenage sister Judith to death with a kitchen knife, like you do. For the next 15 years, he is incarcerated. I mean, who hasn't stabbed his sister at least once or twice? He's incarcerated at Smith's Grove Sanitarium. On October 30th, 1978, Michael psychiatrist Dr. Samuel Loomis and his colleague Marion Chambers arrive at the sanitarium to escort Michael to court for a hearing. Loomis hopes the outcome of the hearing is that Michael will never be released from Smith's Grove. However, Michael steals their car and escapes from Smith's Grove, killing a mechanic for his coveralls on the way back to Haddonfield. Upon returning home, Michael steals a white and expressionless mask from a hardware store.
Yes,
on
sir.
Halloween, dun dun dun, he sees high school student Laurie Strode drop off a key at a long-abandoned Myers house that her father is trying to sell. Rule number 1 in horror: don't sell haunted houses. So don't sell murder houses.
Well, and if you do, make sure my camera keeps going in. I'm sorry. Make sure you're not attached to it. Make sure you move the bodies.
By the way, Poltergeist. That was another one I watched as a kid. Scared the shit out of me, but I did watch it.
Why would you watch that as a kid? I don't watch it now, and I'm an adult.
Because I watched things I wasn't supposed to as a child. Anyway, moving on.
Me too.
Laurie notices Michael stalking her throughout the day, but her friends Annie Brackett and Linda Vanderklok, these fucking names, dismiss her concerns. That's gonna be thing 1 I need to bring up is the acting in this. Loomis,
no, you cannot bring up the acting in this.
I certainly will, sir. That's part of the plea bargain. Loomis arrives in Haddonfield in search of Michael and finds Judith's tombstone missing from the local cemetery. He meets with Annie's father, Sheriff Lee Brackett, and they investigate Michael's house, where Loomis tells Brackett and Michael is pure evil. Brackett is doubtful of the danger, but goes to patrol the streets while Loomis waits at the house, expecting Michael to return. That night, Laurie babysits Tommy Doyle, who was bullied in school earlier that day. Boogeyman, while Annie babysits Lindsay Wallace across the street. Michael follows them, spying on Annie and killing the Wallace's dog. He never killed a dog in cinema. Tommy sees Michael from the windows and thinks he is the boogeyman, but Laurie does not believe him because, of course, she doesn't. Annie later takes Lindsay over to the Doyle house to spend the night so she can pick up her boyfriend, Paul. When she gets into her car, Michael appears from the back seat, strangling her and slitting her throat. Soon after, Linda and her boyfriend, Bob Sims, arrive at the Wallace house and find it empty. After having sex, Bob goes downstairs to get a beer.
It's a rule.
Where Michael pins him to the wall with a kitchen knife because he's like arts and crafts. Michael then poses as Bob in a ghost costume and confronts Linda, who teases him to no effect. Annoyed, she calls Laurie to find out what happened to Annie. Michael proceeds to strangle Linda. This is what I don't understand. This is just a brief aside. Like, he's got the kitchen knife, man. He's got the knife. Why is he like? Did we need to be intimate about this? Just fucking stab the bitch. Like, why are we changing up the gimmick all of a sudden? Anyway,
finesse, baby, finesse.
I suppose.
Everybody's got to have a gimmick nowadays.
Michael proceeds to strangle Linda with the phone cord while Laurie listens on the other end, thinking it's a joke. Meanwhile, Loomis discovers the stolen car and begins searching the streets. Suspicious of the phone call, Laurie goes to the Wallace house across the street and finds her friend's bodies, as well as Judith's headstone in the upstairs bedroom. She flees to the hallway in terror, sheer terror, while Michael suddenly appears in the dock and slashes her arm because apparently he has got really bad eyesight. Like, he's fucking.
I mean, he is wearing a
this
Shatner
far
mask.
from her.
He's wearing a Shatner mask. So,
Anyway,
he went into space.
he did go into space. So she slashes her arm, causing her to fall over the stairway banister because that's hardcore. Injured, she narrowly escapes and runs back to the toil house.
She's now an ECW wrestler.
But lost the keys to the front door, where she fell on the staircase. Tommy lets her in, and she orders him and Lindsay to hide, only to find the phone is dead. They cut the power, man. How could they cut the power? They're animals. Wrong movie. Michael
Wrong movie, but great.
Michael sneaks in through the window and attacks her again, but she incapacitates him by stabbing him in the neck with a knitting needle. Thinking he's dead, like you would, Laurie staggers up. Laurie staggers upstairs to check on the kids, but is shocked to see Michael alive. She tells the kids to hide in the bathroom while Laurie hides in the bedroom closet. But Michael finds her because he's not dumb and breaks
he's not an idiot. I mean, he's psychopath, but he's not an idiot.
Right. So she stabs him in the eye with a coat hanger and in the chest with his own knife, hoisted by his own petard he was. She then tells Tommy and Lindsay to go down the street to a neighbor's house to call the police. After they leave, Michael awakens once again and slowly approaches an unsuspecting Laurie. Loomis sees the kids running from the house and goes to investigate. Finding Michael and Laurie fighting upstairs, Laurie rips Michael's mask off, making him hesitate to put it back on. Loomis shoots Michael 6 times, knocking him off the balcony. Laurie asks Loomis if Michael was the boogeyman, which Loomis confirms.
Yep.
Loomis walks to the balcony and looks down to see that Michael has vanished, because even after 6 bullets to the chest, Michael is unstoppable.
People
Unsurprised,
have survived worse.
Yeah, unsurprised, he stares off into the night as Laurie begins to sob. Michael's breathing is heard during a montage of locations where he had recently been, indicating he could be anywhere, and this leads to part 2. Alrighty. So, just like I said, we'll go back and forth here, but I have to bring this up now. The acting... Okay, so Jamie Lee Curtis is a great actress. I'm not taking anything away from her. And the guy playing Michael Myers is appropriately menacing. That's fine. Donald Pleasence seems like a bit of a crazy lunatic, but his performance lends a bit of tension and chaos to the proceedings.
Absolutely.
That's all fine. So all of our lead players hold up this movie just fine. Unfortunately, I just watched this the other day, listening to Laurie banter with her 2 friends. You ever hear like stage acting, but it's like it's obvious stage acting? They're obviously projecting, and it's almost like reading like a radio play. Especially the Totally Girl. The Totally Girl cracks me up because I don't know what developmentally disabled person was directing her at the time. But like, was that all just first take? Like, how do you want me to do this? I just say totally. A lot. Honestly,
probably a lot of it was first take because this had a $300,000 budget and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
But okay. So all of that aside, you got a shoestring budget. You've got most of your money probably going to Donald Pleasence, who was a name back then.
Sure.
And I think Jamie Lee Curtis got paid $8,000 total for this movie. Like legit. You're going to have to kind of dive into the porn industry to find actors in 1978 that will work for dirt cheap. Okay, I mean that's just how it goes.
Casting director from Vivid Video.
Do I know that they were porn actors? No, I don't know that for a fact. But they act like they are.
It's that level of acting.
It's that level of acting. And it's just like, and I only know this through people making fun of it. Just had to throw that out there. But but it's one of those things where like, you gotta sacrifice where you can to get the movie made. Because, I mean, they had nothing. They had absolutely nothing to work with. Mm-hmm. They shipped in leaves to spread on the ground to make it look like fall. And then they would sweep them back up off the ground to reuse them later.
Right.
all while there's palm trees in the background that you're not supposed to notice. There
Right.
are problems with this movie, but it was 1978 and they had like two nickels to rub together, man.
Okay. I mean, I certainly sympathize with that. Like, I'm not going to tear this movie down and be like,
No.
this is a crime against cinema.
Right. It's like,
it like redefined the genre. I know, like, there were plenty of other slasher movies prior to 1978.
We like Psycho.
But I mean, if anything sort of defines the 80s slasher genre specifically, it's probably Halloween.
Absolutely.
So I'm not going to shit all over it, but it has its problems, and that's a big part of it. Like, you ever watch the Family Guy episode where he's like, "I'm aware I'm watching a play,"
Yeah. I mean, that's what this is. I mean, you're aware that's the Totally Girl is an actress, right? You may think that Jamie Lee Curtis is Laurie Strode, but Totally Girl brings you right back out. You're like, oh yeah, this is a movie.
Her friend is not much better. I mean, she's not as bad. No. Like, I understand that Totally Girl is supposed to be playing like a dippy teenager, but it's so funny because I was thinking about this too, and it's a really weird thing to sort of pick apart with this movie, but I can't get this out of my head.
Exactly, it's one of those things you cannot let go of.
Yeah, it's like, I understand the purpose of this movie is to create fear in your audience out of the idea that a giant man might stab you in your home. Fine. Yeah, I that's a major pillar that's holding up this movie, but
especially when it appears in the bushes in the middle of the day.
So it's kind of like a George Lucas thing where it's just like, the big thing we're trying to do here is spaceships and shit. I'm not really worried about performances. Like, whatever Natalie Portman gives us will be fine.
Like Mark Hamill, he tells in interviews that he and Harrison Ford, right after the trash compactor scene,
right,
they filmed that first. He's like, wait, I'm not. Is my hair supposed to be wet? I'm right out of this trash compactor, and he's like, Harrison looked at me and goes, "Hey kid, it ain't that kind of movie,"
right. So I'm thinking about that, and I'm thinking about like John Carpenter as he's directing this thing, going, what we really want to focus on is making sure the kills look cool and there's an appropriate amount of tension and violence being captured on screen. So like all of that stuff is all of like the conversations with the girls, whatever, is really so that you can get to know Laurie, and it's a lot of table setting so that and it becomes such a formulaic thing throughout the rest of the 80s slashers. Right? You have your final girl who, if it's successful, is like your most interesting. And then she's surrounded by meat sacks who are usually
they're pincushions.
It's so funny because Sean and I said this about Resurrection. It's like your occupation is your character,
Yes.
And so she's Jippy Girl, and it really doesn't matter how bad her performance is because she's just there to have sex and get killed.
It's like John Carpenter was like casting the movie. And he's like, man, we don't have much money left. You, hey, how old are you? 35. Perfect. You're a teenager now. It's just like Steve Buscemi. Hello, fellow teens, walking through the high school.
Dear heaven.
But I mean, like, if that's your biggest flaw that you can find with it, then you struck gold, especially for what the budget was, for what they did with it, and for what kind of movie it is. It's not about them. It's not about them at all. You said it perfectly. They're set dressing. They're there so you get to know Laurie and her struggle with Michael Myers. I mean, they're there to make her look good. They're there to put her over in wrestling terms. So
let me ask you a question. Moving away from the performances. I mean, how much we're not going to spend the next half hour while I continue to wax philosophical about the art of acting.
You just look at me and I'm like,
people get it. I don't think the performances are great. It doesn't matter.
It's 78, man. No performances were great back then. Well, there were a few.
Okay, so moving on to something else here, I want to ask you. So, do you ever get a sense of, do you think, this is like your chance to kind of take over here. Do you think the movie sets up Michael's motivations well at all? I'm going to tell you that I struggled with it, but I want to know from you. Do you feel like by the end of the movie, you knew why Michael had to go back to the house and kill everybody.
No.
Okay.
And that's the scary part about it for me.
Okay.
Because as a little kid, you don't really know why
Mm-hmm.
he did what he did. He was sent away. And the only thing you know is this guy's pissed and he's coming to kill everybody. And that's pure evil.
Okay.
And you don't know why he's doing it. And that terrified me when I thought about it. And I was like, the motivation doesn't have to be there when you have an entity that is so evil that it feels like nothing can stop it.
Mm-hmm.
So the motivation, whether it's insanity, whether it's just being pure evil, it doesn't matter at that point.
Was there anyone living in his house at that point? I mean, I know they were.
Oh God, I can't remember.
Okay. Apparently, Gavin agrees with you.
Oh yeah,
fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dr. Loomis, he's pure evil. Dr. Loomis said so. All right. Can I be weird and just say I wish it had I don't know. This might be just my deconstructionist brain, but yeah. I just felt like I personally needed more. I'm pure evil. I'm Mephisto. All that I don't know. It's fine.
No, not that phrase again.
Oh God, now I'm in trouble. Ronnie's gonna beat me. You know what? I wish I had a different word for fine, Ronnie Adams. I do. I wish I had a different word for fine. And you know what might help me find another word for fine?
I wonder what would help you.
Grammarly would help me.
Well,
Grammarly's AI powered Grammarly's AI fucking seamless. Grammarly's AI powered products help people communicate more effectively. Grammarly helps you write mistake-free on Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and nearly anywhere else you write on the web. Grammarly helps correct hundreds of grammar, punctuation, spelling mistakes while also catching contextual errors, improving your vocabulary. Like you might not just say fine, everything is fine. You might have a different word, adequate perhaps, and suggesting style improvements. To download Grammarly
that's worse.
Today, go to getgrammarly.com/W2M network. Again, it's getgrammarly.com/W2M network to download Grammarly for free. All right. So, okay, I get the existential dread of not knowing why this psycho is doing what he's doing. But I guess, why did he have to go back to his own home then? Why couldn't he just go to the first populated area next door and just slaughter everyone? Like, you see what I'm saying? Without a rational explanation for why he was magnetically drawn to his old home and having and there's no one even living there, so it's not like just as an example. So Poltergeist, right? What we find, spoilers for a 40-year-old movie.
You haven't watched them by now. Good Lord.
They built this housing development on this piece of land that was an Indian burial ground, and they never moved the bodies. And so this place is now haunted out of revenge.
Sure.
The ghosts are doing what they're doing because they had been wronged. It's a ghost revenge story. Cool. I like it. I wish there had been something along those lines for this. Otherwise, then why did he have to go back to his house? Why couldn't he just go to the next door neighborhood and Laurie's there, and the whole thing doesn't really have to change all that much. It's like we found him in the next town over killing people because he has this, because he's pure evil and has this urge to kill. What do you think?
Why was the Hulk always drawn to New Mexico?
Because he liked.
I'm serious. Huh?
Because he liked the vistas.
No. Well, I'm seriously.
Okay, you tell me.
He was created there.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, I get what you're saying. That's fair. So our friend Gavin, who's listening to the show, thank you, Gavin, writes in, Carpenter tapped into the same thing Lovecraft used. Whatever motivation you imagine for Michael was worse than what he would come up with. Lovecraft used language that didn't paint specific pictures for the same reason. Nobody is better at scaring you than you. All right, I mean, that's fair.
That's perfect, Gavin. I mean, I never thought about comparing it to Lovecraft, but it's true because Lovecraft used your own mind against you when he wrote his stories. That's why I love I love Lovecraft. I mean, now he's a kind of a problematic person in some points, but his storytelling was amazing because he let you scare the crap out of you.
Mm-hmm.
That's why later on you'll find out when I'm doing it. I run games, Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that, but I run another game called Call of Cthulhu,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a tabletop role playing game called Cthulhu, and I have to use that. I have to figure out what scares the players the most. So I just leave it open ended, and they're like, "Oh God, it's not clowns, is it?" Actually, it is.
Okay,
kind of a deal. Not that heavy handed, but that's where you go with it. And so, in my mind, I've always thought, and I've always taken it as this, that Michael Myers was created in that house. So he has this draw to go back there to finish his story, to take revenge for putting him away for so many years, to anything. I mean, it's just why does evil do what evil does? There's no rhyme or reason really for it. It's just evil. But that's where evil was created, was in that house.
I think that's interesting. I've never really thought about the existential terror of Halloween being you don't know why the monster is doing what it's doing. It's just doing it. And these people just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, which is interesting to me. It's not something I thought about before until literally just now with you and Gavin pointing it out to me. So, because I watched the original Halloween, like I said, 3 years ago. And, I'm in the theater and it's got, there's one or two decent jump scares. It's not the most graphic of movies I've ever seen.
No,
not by a long shot. Like I said, there's stuff from Poltergeist that to this day is unnerving for me. A poor kid getting eaten by the tree, being one of them. So there's that. But I think I think upon reflection, if you as an audience member are like, I don't know why he's doing what he's doing, or who he's going to go after next, or he's just this agent of chaos, which is an interesting juxtaposition because he's on the one hand an agent of chaos and on the other hand he's a zombie. Like I never think about zombies. Zombies are always slow moving and they're more.
So you watch the remake of Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, where they're all track stars.
And everybody is a marksman.
Sorry.
The guy that works at Best Buy all of a sudden can pop a zombie in the head with a pistol at 500 feet.
So forces of nature. All right. Think about what else about this movie. I'll tell you what I liked about it. I'm always spend this whole thing like I don't know why I'm on this podcast. All he does is complain.
No. You're being fair about it.
Yeah.
Because I know you're going to bring up stuff that like I would just sit and gush about it.
Yeah.
But you're making me think about the things.
Yeah, I'm not sentimentally attached to it the way a lot of people are.
Yeah. But you're making me think about the problems with it. Just like Star Wars. Oh my gosh, Star Wars. I love Star Wars. I would watch Star Wars every day, the original trilogy. But then I start thinking about people start pointing things out to me. I'm like, that is a really crappily made movie at times. I mean, like there are so many errors in that, like the stormtrooper hitting his head, Luke jumping out of the X-Wing and yelling Carrie instead of Leia. There's all kinds of stuff in it. But does that crush my love for that movie? No, absolutely not. It doesn't. But there are things that you can, if you love something, you can learn to laugh at the problems that it has that don't really change your opinion.
Let me ask you a question. What do you think about the kills in Halloween? To me, they're not particularly graphic. And I don't know how much of that is it's the late 70s, how much of that is the budget, or how much of it is, doing more with less. I honestly don't know what was in John Carpenter's head when he was thinking about like, well, if you watch a lot, just as a way of contrast, you watch a lot of action movies, people get stabbed all the time.
Yeah.
I've seen worse.
The face, the head.
Yeah. And so like when someone tells you, hey, you can't let the Halloween season pass without watching one of the great horror movies of the last century, and it's John Carpenter's Halloween, it's so scary. And I watched this thing. I've watched it twice now, and those kills to me are not particularly scary. You know what I mean? Like I've seen just as a way of comparison, the stuff that Freddy killing people in A Nightmare on Elm Street, terrifying, especially the first couple. You
mean the blood, the Kool-Aid coming out of the bed?
Yeah, like when he, I would
Johnny
say the
Depp?
bedroom scene with with Johnny Depp and the blood on the ceiling and all of that, is super gross and like terrifying to me. I think the idea of somebody like attacking you in your dreams and being vulnerable is probably like psychologically like what terrifies me. Like I'm not afraid of somebody coming into my house, you know.
Right.
I am, however, afraid of not being able to get away from my own brain, my own anxieties.
You just said it.
Okay, take it away.
So most of the kills happen off screen,
right?
And they are mild, and they are not bloodless, but they're not bloody, gushing, everything else. But sometimes less is more.
Sure.
Because once again, if he doesn't show you what happens, then your imagination goes wild. At least mine did.
Do the rest of them? I mean, Halloween Resurrection wasn't particularly gory either. Do any of these, including the Rob Zombie ones? Because I know Rob Zombie's horror movies tended to be like ridiculous, in terms of gore and unnecessary violence and graphicness. So do his Halloween movies follow in that vein? Do any of these get to a point of like A Nightmare on Elm Street or Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
I remember 2 being pretty bloody compared to 1.
Okay.
Because like I said, he stabs the nurse and lifts her like 9 feet off the ground on a scalpel. Excuse me. And then I know. I can't get over that. I cannot get over.
Michael stabs a guy in the stomach with a shotgun in 5. Just the worst. Yay, Ronnie! Can't wait to watch that.
Yeah, that is okay. I forgot about that, Gavin. Oof, man. Oh gosh.
Why a spoon? Because it'll hurt more.
I just watched that today. Yeah, sorry. I got really excited over that. So like I know the violence picked up in 2. And that's another reason why I'm like I'm not as fond of it as I am the original. Because it doesn't leave anything to the imagination. Like people are slipping on the amount of blood on the floor and falling in it. Just stabbing in the chest, blood everywhere. I can't remember most of the kills in it, but there's a lot. I mean, other than there's a syringe in the eye, hammer to the head. If I'm remembering correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, Gavin. I think somebody got a hammer to the head in this one. They show a lot, and then of course you've got the amazing, wonderful, incredible mutant-like shots at the end into the eyes. Somehow, 2 bullets, 238 rounds, or maybe it was 357. I'm not sure. Doesn't blow the back of your skull out.
I am trying so hard.
It only puts you in a coma.
I am trying so hard. I don't know if you've listened to any of the James Bond stuff we did, but my argument with those were, don't tell me it's gritty realism and do what you do to James Bond and then expect me to follow your story. You're not consistent in your own universe. I understand there's a supernatural element to Michael Myers. So I am resisting the urge to yell out, does he have Wolverine's healing factor? What the fuck? How does all of those things happen to him and he not die?
Right. Believe it or not, the 6 shots to the body
in
various positions is a lot more believable with survivability than anything else.
Okay.
There are people that have been shot that many times. If you think of the motivation, or not motivation, but if you think of the sheer evil and power that goes into Michael Myers, of a determination of having to kill because you have to finish this. He can survive that. I mean, there's been recorded in the military that a man was shot in the stomach, like through the stomach and the side, by a rocket propelled grenade, by an RPG. It went in one side, out the other, did not explode. Had most of his intestines and things taken out, and survived.
Yeah.
So that doesn't bother me. I mean, of course, when you have a horror movie, you have to go overboard like 6 shots, bow, 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 bow.
Mhm.
But that doesn't bother me. It's the 2 shots to the eyes that put the man in the coma that bothers me. And then from there on, I think in H2O, she takes a swing at his head and decapitates him. Or is that Resurrection?
No, that's H2O because in Resurrection the explanation for it is that she got the wrong guy. She decapitated the wrong person. So she's timid about it, and when she has when she has a second shot at him, she's timid about it. At which point he Undertakers up and throws her off the roof. That's
H2O, right?
Yeah.
Resurrection is where he pops out of the car and she swings like Babe Ruth and knocks his head off, right?
No. Again, she thinks she decapitates him. You're led to believe in H2O that she decapitates him.
Okay.
The explanation is she actually decapitated a security guard or something like that. And then in Resurrection, she sets a trap for Michael and she goes to decapitate him again, but she's too slow because she wants to take the mask off him to make sure it's the right guy, at which point he wakes up and chucks her off the roof.
Which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Let me ask you one last question.
Was H2O before Resurrection or vice versa? Okay, I couldn't remember. Yeah, that's right. I'm getting my movies mixed up.
Ambulance driver. Gavin corrected me.
Ambulance driver. Yeah. Okay.
We're going to end unless you have a lot more you want to discuss, we're going to end the conversation with this.
Yeah.
I'm interested in your thoughts on that final bit there. Because one of the themes of the movie is the presence of the boogeyman, sort of the existential fear of the titular sort of ill-defined boogeyman, right? Because your boogeyman can be whatever you think it is, right? That's what the whole boogeyman is. And you have the kids teasing Tommy Doyle, about the boogeyman and all of that. And it comes up periodically. And Michael is supposed to be, representative of that. And then at the end, this high school girl, this fairly intelligent high school girl who has been traumatized, as you would be, by this horrible experience, is shivering in a corner and crying and going, was that the boogeyman? Can I tell you how, despite the fact that it's one of those where I feel like on a second or third pass through the screenplay, or maybe while you sit there and editing, I can see John Carpenter kind of fighting with himself like, but it ties the whole thing together, except that it's the stupidest fucking line.
Oh, no, it's not.
Oh, it drove me crazy. Is that the boogeyman? Dun, dun,
okay,
dun.
So she could have, maybe the delivery was off, but she's traumatized, just like you said.
Right, sure.
What are we, as a child, what are we not threatened with, but what were we scared of? The boogeyman. The boogeyman's going to get you.
I was scared of Rankin and Bass animation, but that's just me. I'm a pansy.
Unicorn.
Unicorn.
Yeah.
You're just a hobbit.
I don't know why I said unicorn, like warriors come out and play. I don't know.
Sister.
Come out and play. Skeleton has bottles on its fingers, but it's one of those things where it's the boogeyman, she's so traumatized. She goes back to her childhood and she's like, that's the scariest thing that you could think of. The boogeyman was everything. It was all of our fears wrapped up into one shadowy entity that lurked in the darkness, hid under our beds, hid in the closet, and waited for us to go to bed and slide that one foot out from underneath the cover so it could grab it and jerk us underneath.
You've listened to Everyone Loves a Bad Guy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that song, I think it's by Voltaire, that opens up, I'm the fly in your soup, I'm the corn in your poop, however it goes.
What? Yes, okay.
Robert Woodbury's going to listen back to this and just fly out of my house and punch me right in the face.
I've never seen a man bleed from the eyes, so.
But no, I was thinking about that because that's the boogeyman. That's what Voltaire is talking about,
It's everything that you're afraid of that bothers you. Yeah,
right.
Unseen evil. And really, that's what Michael Myers is, because you don't see his face.
Right.
He is the boogeyman. He is unseen evil. He is not even Michael Myers. He's the shape.
He works great as a theme. And I do like that. the shape because he's what you can project your anxieties and fears onto.
Absolutely.
And I think as a horror monster, that's what makes him one of the best. Not so much the body count and the and the graphic nature of the kills, but that this is a character in which he's basically a blank slate that you can project onto. And and anxiety and fear are central tenets of the horror genre.
Absolutely.
As opposed to Freddy, which is a very, very defined character.
So
it would be very hard for you to project onto Freddy. Freddy is a very specific thing.
Freddy is back for revenge because he diddled kids.
Sure.
I mean, like that's what it is. He was a child molester.
Right.
They killed him.
But like you couldn't project yourself onto I mean, we talked about this with Candyman. It would be difficult for you to, I think, project onto Candyman too, because he's also a very specific thing. So that's what I'm saying. Like there's your difference.
That is what you're getting when you're whether you're afraid of it or not. He's coming back in your dreams. He's stabbing you with his knife fingers.
Yeah.
You say his name 5 times in the mirror. He's coming through. And he's going to hit you with his hook. That is what it is.
Right.
Michael Myers, the shape is anything you need it to be.
So if I'm John Carpenter, and we'll end with this. If I'm John Carpenter and I'm working on that scene, we talked about this before. I feel like a lot of the performances was first pass. It was like it doesn't really matter,
No.
Like as long as you remembered your lines, we were happy. And and like I said, Jamie Lee Curtis is like 98% great in this.
Absolutely.
And then there's that 2% where I feel like there was a way to get that across. Well, hang on. Let me even back that up a second. I'm not even sure she needs to say it. You know what I mean? Like there's one of the themes of this being a story about the boogeyman come to life. Does she need to say, was that the boogeyman at the end? Like you get it. Yeah, he was the boogeyman. Like it felt a little on the nose, I guess is my struggle.
I get that. I understand that. You do realize this was her first feature role, right?
I'm not necessarily blaming her. This is one where I think the line itself either needs to be rewritten, excised. Maybe I would almost tell you maybe she's not the one that says it. Maybe Donald Pleasence says it. Like, because she doesn't know who the fuck Michael Myers is, right?
That's right. So right. That's why it fits her so well. She doesn't know why, who, or how that it's just she doesn't know. Mm-hmm. Why was he after me? Why was he trying to kill me?
But and more specifically, like she doesn't know specifically who Michael Myers is. Like,
right?
They may have known about this poor kid who killed his sister, but that was like what? That was like 15 years ago.
This thing that has come in has killed her friend. Wreaked havoc and everything else. What else is she going to ask about it?
So here's the thing. Like, I'm almost wondering if it doesn't work better.
No, subtlety was not his strong suit, Gavin. That's very true.
Last thing I'm going to say, and then you have the last word, and then we're done. I'm wondering if it's better if she's like, what was that, or who was that? And Donald Pleasence, has his back to her. He's kind of like looking out the window or whatever, and he turns, and the camera catches as he turns, and he says, "'Twas the boogeyman." Doesn't have to say "'twas." We're not, it's not the last duel.
I mean, like, did Shakespeare write this crap? What's going on?
It was the boogeyman, and then boom, credits.
Yeah,
that's my thought as I do the remake of Halloween.
Okay, no, stop it. There's no remake.
More Halloweeny this time. No. All right, last
Halloween.
All right,
Halloweenier.
So I'm willing to settle for probation on this. give me your final thoughts on Halloween now that I've tortured you for an hour. Needs to go
scot-free. No probation.
No, just pay a fine. Maybe that's about it.
Nope, no fine either. You're good. Boom, boom. With the problems that it has, the minor problems that it has, it is one of the most pure slasher movies that I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. Psycho was one of the first. I can't remember if it was the first or not. I don't think it was.
I feel like from one of Robert's podcasts that he did that we read recently, in fact, the slashers one, I feel like he talked about there being the very beginnings of this, and it wasn't Psycho. Right. I can't remember the movie that he said, but he named one of them.
Yeah. Actually, let me. Well,
you keep talking. I'm going to look it up.
Yeah. Okay, you look it up. It is a pure slasher flick. And the reason that it scares me still to this day, when I say scare, it's more of a fun scare now. It's
Black
more
Christmas,
of a,
by the way.
Yeah. Huh?
Black Christmas.
Was that really?
According to the very brief Google search I did.
At what year was that?
Keep going. I will interrupt you yet again.
Yeah. So the reason that it's scary to me is because it absolutely can happen. I mean, not exactly like this, but it can happen. Michael Myers was a man. Was he, he was not more than a man. He was stopped by bullets. He was, he drove a car in the freaking movie. All this stuff he needed, to get around. But things like this happen. There are disturbed folk out there that may not have a rhyme or reason why they would take somebody's life. And that, to me, is truly terrifying. That's why I love the Scream movies. Now, as grandiose as they are, people are disturbed, and they do look at these opportunities as maybe to become famous, maybe to extract some kind of revenge that they've concocted in their head, or maybe they're just the embodiment of pure evil and nothing else. And they, to me, are more terrifying than a hockey mask wielding demon and a man who comes back to kill you in your nightmares. No offense, huh?
1974 on Black Christmas, by the way.
Well, crap. You got to go back further than that. Psycho was a slasher flick. I don't care what anybody says.
No, and that's what this. Okay, so here's the entry on this. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you ever see the remake of this from 2006?
Black Christmas. I avoided it.
All right. Although Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho provided early inspiration, some argue the first authentic slasher film was Black Christmas, although as the pacing is far from a typical slasher film. There are many who could also fairly argue if you include Black Christmas, you must include Psycho, or at least the 1965 version of 10 Little Indians, though the success of Halloween, Friday the 13th, and Nightmare on Elm Street helped popularize and revolutionize the genre in the 1980s. So
10 Little Indians, that sounds familiar. I don't think I've ever seen it. Yeah, I gotta watch it. All right. Gosh, there's a lot of stuff behind me that I'm preparing. Jeez. Yeah, I mean, that's why I like slasher flicks, man.
Mm-hmm. Where does Halloween rank in, like, if you were to do your, like, what does everyone say, your Desert Island discs? If you had to pick, like, your top 3 horror movies to watch for the rest of your life, is Halloween one of them?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the other 2?
Night of the Living Dead, 1968. It's interchangeable. I can go 68 or the remake because of Tony Todd.
Mm-hmm.
I think his performance in that was brilliant. Also met the guy's sweetest man ever. I think number 3 for me, something that's scary like that. I'm not taking any, like, it's not The Exorcist. I avoid that at all costs. I just don't like it.
Okay.
And it comes down to, faith, my beliefs as well with that movie. Sure. I just don't. Yeah.
Did you watch Midnight Mass? Speaking of faith.
Yes, I did. I watched part of it. I haven't finished it all. What I've seen of it, I've loved though. It's weird. It's weird. But I know where it's going because I already know the priest and what he went through. Does that make sense?
If you get a chance, if you have 3 hours to kill.
Oh, Gavin, no.
Myself, Robert Winfrey, Alexis Hana, and Ben Cologne actually did an almost 3-hour review of Midnight Mass. It took that long to get through all of it. Gavin says Exorcist 3, Halloween, and Shining. All right, that's it.
That's actually a really good pick. The Shining. Shining is terrifying. Yeah.
We did that on trial too.
Yeah.
I find stuff to pick apart about everything. So does Sean. When given half a chance, and we had our say on The Shining. It has its moments. Great
knee-jerk reaction, gun to my head. I'll say The Shining, but I know there's something else out there. Even though The Shining is one of the greatest movies.
Mm.
You know, one of
Have
the
you
greatest
seen
Star Wars movies out there.
Have you seen Dr. Sleep yet?
I didn't mind Doctor Sleep. I actually liked it. Kind of taught it up.
Yeah, Robert
It's
and
not
I.
great.
Yeah, I was gonna say Robert and I were kind of meh on it. It was fine.
It was swell.
It was Jim and Dandy.
Got to get that Grammarly going, my man.
All right. You know what though? If you enjoy the music, I'll tell you the one thing I have no complaints about with Halloween. I can't even pick it apart. Is how eerie and iconic the score is for Halloween, and you can find the score on Amazon Music.
You're kidding.
.com, and we are actually giving away a free 30-day trial of the Amazon Music Unlimited
30
service.
whole days.
So if you click the link in the description of this podcast, get amazonmusic.com/W2M network. Again, it's get amazonmusic.com/W2M network. You can get a free 30-day trial. Check out all the music you want. If you after 30 days you want to cancel, there's no problem. There's no contract, no fuss, no muss. If you don't, yeah, but if you're like me, hey, we played it last night. I did an entire Monster Magnet medley because Coop apparently had never heard Monster Magnet before, which shocked the shit out of me.
Coop,
yeah, I know, crazy, right? So I use the Amazon Music service to play bits and pieces of the best of Monster Magnet, and I did that with the Amazon Music Unlimited service, which you can try out for 30 days. All right. This concludes Halloween week here on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. All 2 shows of it. We did Halloween Resurrection. This is we just concluded our look at Halloween 78. And this Tuesday, we'll be reviewing Halloween Kills, which is day and date on Peacock as of this recording tomorrow.
Wait, what?
Theaters.
Hold on. What
now?
They're releasing Halloween Kills on Peacock as well?
Yes, it's day and date on Peacock if you have the premium service.
What the frick?
Yeah, Robert and I briefly talked about that. Apparently there was a distribution issue with Halloween 2018. I don't want to get into it now, but basically Jason Blum was like, I want to make sure people have access to this thing. So, and I think it was as crowded as October is. They wanted to make sure people saw it.
Yeah.
So they're doing day and date on Peacock and in theaters. And that's tomorrow, along with The Last Duel and a couple of other feature films.
I'll be honest, as much as I don't want to watch it at home, that helps me out.
Yeah.
I got a couple of movies I got to watch before Sunday.
So we talked about Midnight Mass. We re-aired Robert's Everyone Loves a Bad Guy about slashers, which focused on Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees. We reviewed No Time to Die, No Time to Pee, No Time for This Nonsense. No one got time for this nonsense.
Hey, nobody got time for that movie because that disappointed me.
So check out our review of No Time to Die, the aforementioned Monster Magnet review. This weekend we'll have re-airings of speaking of which, the Evil Dead trilogy. I don't know if you ever heard our original Evil Dead Long Road to Ruin, but we're re-airing that in time for the anniversary of the Evil Dead. I think there was a Fathom event on it, as a matter of fact. It was back in theaters for a hot minute. And then on Sunday,
who was on that?
It was definitely me and Sean. I don't remember who else. If anyone,
anybody, if you ever do one of those again, you need to get Gavin Napier on there. I'm serious.
He might have actually he just wrote a comment. That's not what he said. He did this, as a matter of fact. Gavin Napier was actually on our yes, it was you, Gavin. I was getting to that.
Okay.
It was me. Gavin Napier was on our Evil Dead Long Road to Ruin. So that'll be up Saturday. You get to hear Gavin from like a million years ago.
Man knows his Evil Dead.
Ronnie Adams, you're always commenting that myself and Robert Winfrey were too negative. We're just too negative. We're too critical of film. Well, I'll have you know, we had nothing bad to say about the Peanuts movie that came out a few years ago. And that's going to re-air on Sunday.
Get out.
And then
get out of your own house. I'll finish this.
And lastly, David Wright will be on the next episode of On Trial. We'll be reviewing the 84 Dune.
Oh,
yeah. David Wright's like, I'm on all the Dune things. I'm like, so you are.
Good for him.
Well, speaking of Gavin Napier, it's like Gavin Napier week all weekend long because Gavin Napier and I, get the fuck out of here, man. We reviewed the Mummy trilogy a few years ago. That's going to re-air Tuesday, the 19th.
What about
yes, sir,
the Brendan Fraser resurgence in Hollywood and on the internet right now.
Yeah, I know, man. He's
I
all
love
over
it.
the place.
It's great. He deserves it.
The aforementioned Halloween Kills review will be Tuesday.
Mhm.
Wednesday, we'll have a Mania of WrestleMania. We're up to the shitty ones. WrestleMania is 8 and 9.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll have a Metal Hammer of Doom for Ice 9 Kills, the Silver Scream 2. Welcome to Horrorwood. It's a real band, Ronnie Adams, Ice 9 Kills.
You make him up.
Thursday,
I'll never not believe that.
We'll take a brief break from the horror and the Halloween to talk about boxing. We'll have the Four Kings of Boxing, Chapter 5, Leonard and Duran 1 and 2. Friday. Chris Bailey. We have a re-airing of our Cradle of Filth review of Hammer of the Witches, just in time for the new Cradle of Filth to drop, which is called Existence is Futile, much like the Star Trek thing. And that's it for now. That's all we got. What do you got going on, sir?
Brother, I've got a lot of stuff in the works, and I've got some stuff coming up. I have not streamed in a while. I was going to last night, but alas, work and the long day made me fall asleep. But I tell you what, we've got some really cool stuff coming up. We've got every other week, but not this Saturday, but 2 weeks from Saturday. We have to take this Saturday off. It's session 4 of Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden, a D&D adventure. So we are a live play Dungeons and Dragons stream with other things mixed in. Now, the reason that we're taking this weekend off, this Saturday off, is we're not actually taking it off. It is free RPG day at your local game store if they so choose to, whatever, if they want to do it or not. So at my local game store, Hypermind here in Burlington, North Carolina, is free RPG day, where there is a plethora of books, quick starts, telling you about the new games that are coming out. One of which is a Dune game that is coming out very soon, Dune role-playing game. Like some steampunk stuff. I don't want to give anything away because it's supposed to be under wraps, but there's a lot of really, really, really cool stuff coming out. That's coming up this free RPG day. Now, what am I doing for free RPG day at Hypermind? I am running two events that day. I will be running a game called Kids on Bikes early on for the younger kids.
What the fuck is Kids on Bikes?
I will tell you. I'm glad you asked. Kids on Bikes is a system that uses the polyhedral dice that you're familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, but you assign one of those die to each of your fight, flight, charm, whatever. So if your guy's a bully, then he'd get a D20 in fighting or brawn. And then he would get a D4 in charm. So whenever you have to talk your way out of something, he has to roll a D4 and meet a certain criteria for it, meet a certain number. And if you can't do that, then sucks to be him. But it is really cool. It's based on Stranger Things, E.T., Goonies, It. The new It movies. So it's got that quality of, you take kids or adults, whoever wants to play it, back to a time in the 80s or 90s or even the 70s when there are no cell phones. And the only way to get a hold of each other is you ride your bike in the neighborhood and you talk to one another and you find adventures to get into and you get off the damn computer for a minute and go outside. Pardon my French. But now I'm saying that to myself because I broke a sweat walking up the stairs today, but that's Kids on Bikes. Kids on Bikes is a wonderful system that I'm happy this will be my first game running it, and I hope to play it as well one day. But I will run this as many times as I can that people want it. And at 4:00, that's going to be a 2-hour session. At 4:00, I'll be running another game, Call of Cthulhu, the 7th edition of that. Whereas I will be the keeper of arcane lore, guiding 6 investigators through a terrifying mystery that only leads into madness. So it's a lot of fun as well. So I might be able to stream the Call of Cthulhu game. I have to ask for permission of my players, of course, and we'll see if I can get that going. But if not, if you're a role-playing game fan, or you've always thought about it and wanted to try it, please, now is the weekend to go to your local game store. Look at some of these systems. It doesn't always have to be Dungeons and Dragons. While Dungeons and Dragons is my favorite, is the OG, I will always go back to it. I love it. But there are so many systems out there. There's Star Trek. There's going to be Dune. There's a Star Wars role-playing game. There's steampunk. There's I picked up a box set that is called oh gosh, I can't remember the name of it, but it's an old TSR game that is gangsters of the 1920s.
Wow.
That's really cool. So there's a lot of cool stuff out there. So please go out to your local game store, pick up some of these free RPG books, pick up a set of dice, buy some stuff, and just start using your imagination again. And that's it.
All right, folks, this has been On Trial, a Radulich Broadcasting Network podcast. For Ronnie Adams, I'm Mark Radulich. Be well, be safe, and be googly. Behave.